Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Sunday, December 16th, 2018, and we're going to go through a 2020 election prediction between Vice President Joe Biden and now Senator and previous Governor of Massachusetts, Mitt Romney. So Mitt Romney was a Republican candidate for president back in 2012. I'm pretty sure all of you know that. Joe Biden, of course, the incumbent vice president from 2008 to 2016, and I guess 2009 to 2017, if we're being technical. But this is an interesting election prediction. I'm taking someone who isn't Trump and putting them on the Republican side, and that just pretty much reshapes the entire political map. Every single election prediction I've done in the previous, couple of months have always been with Donald Trump on the Republican side. And multiple people, actually, if you go in my community section, I do post things pretty often asking guys what you guys want me to make in terms of videos. And this came up a little bit. It wasn't necessarily the most popular thing. That was typically primary videos, which I'll get to probably coming through this week, because primary videos, they definitely take a lot more than, I guess, a regular electoral map prediction between two candidates. But right now we have an interesting scenario. So again, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is going to be primaried. I'm not saying anyone's going to run against him in the primary. This is just whatever type video where we put in a Republican like Mitt Romney, and then we take the top Democratic nominee name for right now, which is Joe Biden, based off recent election polling. Again, it can change. It's still 2018, but I'm just going with that top nominee for right now and putting them up against each other. So I do think this electoral map could be a little bit better for Republicans. To be completely honest with you, Donald Trump is not the best candidate for the GOP, if we're just being very honest. He does have a lot of faults. And again, they were exemplified in 2016 when a number of people just came out against him in terms of, let's say, sexual harassment, or in terms of his business deals and Trump University, things like that. Time and time again, the media berated him. Everyone really berated him, including people on his own campaign and people within the Republican Party, especially those top officials. And he still won the election. So I'm not saying that's necessarily something that's too bad, but he could probably have won by more if a number of these scandals had never happened. Keep in mind, both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were both plagued with scandals, so it wasn't just a Trump thing. Joe Biden probably would be plagued with a couple scandals, Mitt Romney probably with a couple, but Donald Trump probably takes the cake on that one, especially leading into 2020. The Democratic Party is not going to make similar mistakes as they did in 2016, or if they do, then that's going to be something that is going to ultimately hurt them in the general election. But again, I think Mitt Romney could be a pretty strong candidate. Back in 2012, a lot of people didn't really expect him to win, but they thought the margin would be a lot closer. They thought this would be one of the more closer elections, but in fact it wasn't. States like Florida and Ohio and Iowa went to Barack Obama, when states like Florida had already led for Mitt Romney by 4.5% in the polls, and then going to Barack Obama by 0.3% on election day. Again, there's just a number of things that weighed into the 2012 race that made Mitt Romney seem like he was a bad candidate. But in all reality, he wasn't. And yes, he has moved from Massachusetts to Utah just to take a Senate position. But to be completely honest with you, he was popular amongst the Mormon population. He owns a home in the state of Utah. No real reason why he just can't run, other than a lot of people saying it's just carpetbagging. But I would just say that he played the political game well. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about Mitt Romney versus Joe Biden. So in a scenario where this was 2020, keep in mind, Mitt Romney would probably still have the Republican base. I'm not going to factor in that whole Trump primaried, turned off Trump base. I'm going to factor them in this race, because this is just going to be a Biden versus Romney prediction with no real major outliers. Outside effects on it. But I guess you could say, I can't predict the economy. I can't predict a number of societal factors in the United States, but I can get a pretty general conclusion, especially since, again, not tooting my own horn here, but I was pretty accurate back in 2017 about the 2018 predictions and both the governorships and the Senate elections, which was pretty interesting to me. But again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying Mitt Romney is going to run. This is just a hypothetical situation. So getting right into the video, let's go ahead and start by characterizing all the safe Democratic states. Typically, I try to do the safe Democratic states or safe Republican states. It really doesn't matter, but I never go into the toss-up states first and then go into the safe states, because there is really no point. So we're going to start off by filling in all the safe states for Joe Biden, and now we can go into the safe states for Mitt Romney. At this point, I'm going to use a shaded region, which means that it will be like leaning, likely, toss-up, and of course safe, as I'm doing right now. But The number of these states are already the same as they were in the past, and I believe that finishes all of these safe, quote-unquote, safe Republican states. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the whole safe, likely, leaning, and toss-up characterizations for each of these states, with 230 electoral votes remaining. Keep in mind, Mitt Romney currently has 125, but it seems little for now. But then if you just add, let's say, 3 states, Texas, Florida, and Georgia, states that were Trump states in 2016, he shoots right ahead of Joe Biden. So, again, just because they're at 122, right? 122, 125, sorry. 125 right now doesn't mean anything, to be completely honest with you. Biden being at 183, let's say Biden wins the Rust Belt, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to click that many times, but then he gets very close to the 270 mark. So with 230 electoral votes at stake, we can start by characterizing the likely states. If we're being honest, Donald Trump was pretty much the only Republican that just underperformed in the state of Texas in a presidential election year. Yes, Beto O'Rourke could do better, especially with someone like Joe Biden, considering that it is funny because Joe Biden is considering Beto O'Rourke as a VP if he does run. A lot of ifs here, but again, Beto O'Rourke was a singular candidate. We're not factoring in VPs here. This is a one-on-one race because I'm not going to throw Romney with Paul Ryan again and then Biden with Beto O'Rourke under speculation, but right now, I would say that the state of Texas would go back to someone like Mitt Romney. These were Mitt Romney voters. If you look back at 2012 compared to 2016, drastic change. And yes, it was population shift. It was demographic changes. But it also was a pretty good notice in terms of conservative enthusiasm for Donald Trump versus for Mitt Romney. Another state, like the state of Georgia, I think could go into the likely column, if I'm being completely honest with you. Yes, it is Joe Biden. Can bring out the African-American turnout, but if this state was a likely state with Barack Obama on the ballot, no reason why it wouldn't be a likely state with Barack Obama's opponent and then Joe Biden on the ballot himself. And that leaves 176 electoral votes. Mitt Romney now 4 electoral votes away from where Joe Biden is. And you see, with just 2 states alone, this race has gotten a lot closer than where it was before. But we can go ahead and start characterizing the likely Democratic states. States like Virginia, states like New Mexico, and states like Colorado have all become characterized recently as likely Democratic states, based off their 2018 election performance in terms of the House, the Senate, and a couple governorships. And going back to 2017 and 2016, these states have all proven to be Democratic quote-unquote strongholds. These are areas that are typically characterized as swing states, but land in the Democratic column time and time again. If we look at the Colorado governor race in 2018, if we look at the Senate race in the state of Virginia and New Mexico in 2018, just a number of races, all have been hinting that the Democratic Party is doing better in these states specifically, which is why they have moved from either the lean or likely column in either remaining or going into the likely column. That remains with 149 electoral votes, 179 for Mitt Romney, 210 for Joe Biden. Well, of course, there will be some other likely states. States like Maine, I would say at large would be likely for Joe Biden. As for Mitt Romney, I don't think there's any more likely GOP states, nor do I think there are any more likely Democratic states except for the state of Pennsylvania. At this point in time, Pennsylvania is going to do pretty well for Joe Biden. He's from the state. Yes, he was a senator from Delaware, but he was born in the small town of Scranton. And, you know, when you think about that, he really can appeal to Pennsylvania voters better than you'd expect, especially better than Hillary Clinton. Considering that she only lost these states by less than 1%, Mitt Romney didn't even come close to winning any of the 3 states. That's something to, I guess, note. Mitt Romney did not do well amongst Rust Belt voters. And, I mean, I get it. He's uber rich. And so was Donald Trump, but Donald Trump was able to twist it into a way where a billionaire was better able to appeal to someone who works 40 hours a week, barely making ends meet compared to Hillary Clinton, which baffled me, but it happened. And Mitt Romney does not have that type of appeal. He seems very elitist, and it's just it just wouldn't be a good look for him, especially if he just drastically changed his views. And considering that he has taken more conservative views now that he's in the state of Utah, again, that's not going to help him amongst the moderate population in a couple of these swing states. But again, that covers all the likely states. Now we can move and start into go into the lean states. I would say Arizona would be a lean Romney state, along with the state of North Carolina. And if we're being generous, which we're not being because we're doing a very, I guess, standard approach to this, but it just seems pretty generous giving 3 states all at once to Mitt Romney, but they all have reasoning behind them. Arizona, North Carolina, and Florida are Republican states. These are states that have voted Republican back in 2016, North Carolina and Arizona in 2012, and Florida itself has always done pretty well for Mitt Romney. Yes, Barack Obama was able to do something a little bit different, but Joe Biden isn't necessarily a direct reincarnation of Barack Obama, clearly. But if 2018 showed you something, that these states, even in a Democratic wave year, possibly are Republican areas. They were 2 wins by less than 1%, so it's nothing large, which is why it's only in the lean column. But I do think at the end of the day, Romney could narrowly take these states. But looking at the rest of the Rust Belt, I would give the rest of the Rust Belt into the lean column for Joe Biden. And at that point, it puts him 2 electoral votes away from the presidency of the United States of America. We have 36 electoral votes. Let's just run through it real quick. Nebraska's 2nd district. The Rust Belt, I just think that Joe Biden can easily appeal to them a lot better than Mitt Romney can. And that's going to be one of his downfalls. The only reason why the races are so close is because these states were red states in 2016. And, 2018 did show that these states do have more Democratic tendencies now, but the presidential election will still probably be close at the end of the day. As for the state of Nevada, I do think that this is a Biden area based off the 2018 election results and 2016 election results. That just reaffirm the point that this is a Democratic stronghold, and history tells you that this state is going to the Democrats. And now, effectively, Joe Biden is the next president of the United States of America. Looking up in the Northeast, I would say the 2nd district and the state of New Hampshire are both into the lean column for Joe Biden. As for Ohio, I'm going to give that one to Mitt Romney, along with the state of Iowa. I do think that these states could narrow down from where they were for Trump in 2016, but still narrowly go to Mitt Romney at the end of the day. So the final electoral map is 279 for Joe Biden, 259 for Mitt Romney. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.